Welcome to Rabbi Knapp's second flipped classroom. Today we will be learning quickly the Gemara in Pesachim Daf Zayin Amud Aleph and Zayin Amud Bet. I will be giving you a quick translation and reading of the Gemara. Please follow along with your word list as well so you can get all the words and information you need for our upcoming learning of this Gemara. The Gemara continues on Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda the Gemara says, Habodek tzarech sheyivarech. He who searches for the chametz must also make a blessing on the chametz. My mivarech, asks the Gemara, what is the bracha he should make? Rav Papi Amar Mishmei de Rava. Rav Papi says in the name of his Rebbe Rava, Levaer chametz, to burn the chametz. Rav Papa Amar Mishmei de Rava, and Rav Papa says in the name of his Rebbe Rava, Al Bior chametz. The blessing should be on the mitzvah of burning the chametz. The Gemara now begins the analysis. Bilevaer, with regards to the word levaer, to burn the chametz, Kuli Alma, Kol Ha'olam, the entire world, Lo Pligi, they do not disagree, but rather everyone agrees that Levaer Devadai, certainly Lahaba Mashma. It certainly means in the future. It's going to be something you're about to do. Flip the page to Zayin Amud Bet. Ki Pligi. When do they argue? And again, please have your word sheet out with you as we read this Gemara. Ki pligi. When do they argue? Bi'al bi'ur. With regards to the language of al bi'ur, on the burning. Mar savar. One opinion holds or thinks. Me'ikara mashma. That al implies the past tense. Umar savar. Notice the Roshei Tevot. Again, Mar Savar, Umar Savar, and the other opinion believes Lahaba Mashma, that the language of Al Bior also implies the future. And we explained in class already that when the Gemara says, one opinion says Al Bior Chametz implies past tense, that must be Rav Papi's opinion, because Rav Papi is forced to say Levaer Chametz, because Al Bior would have implied the past tense, and you haven't yet done the mitzvah. Whereas Rav Papa, who said Al Bior Chametz, Al could also mean future, just like Levaer means future, Al could also mean future. Nevertheless, the Gemara now continues with three questions, starting with the word Meitvei. Meitvei is a question from a Tanaitic source. It's the question from a more important or earlier source. Says the Gemara, Baruch Asher Kirishanu B'Vtatav V'Tivanu Al Hamila. The bracha said on the mitzvah Brit Milah is Al Hamila, and this bracha is of course recited right before you do the mitzvah. So how could this bracha Al Hamila make sense according to Rav Papi? Rav Papi said Al is only used for future tense. Here you have not yet done. So here again the question is on Rav Papi. Here Al Hamila implies future tense because you've not yet done the Brit Milah. Nevertheless, Rav Papi said Al is only used for past tense, and therefore the bracha by Bedikat Chametz must be Levaer Chametz. So the Gemara presents this question to Rav Papi. Gemara answers, Hatam, there, in the case of Brit Milah, Heichi Nema. What should he say? Nema Lamul. Should he make the bracha with a Lamed Lamul? Notice, please, also the language Nema. That means the almost 99% of the time, this is a rhetorical question. Heichi Nema. What should he say? What should we say? Nema, should we say Lamul? Gemara says, no, you can't say Lamul. Lo Sagia, the Laviu Moel. And what if he's not the Moel? Meaning, the mitzvah is upon the father to do Brit Milah. Normally, most fathers don't do Brit Milah. So the Gemara assumes here, if he is not doing the Brit Milah for his own son, but rather he's hiring a mohel to do that mitzvah, he cannot use the language of lamed lamul. He must use the language of al hamila. To which the Gemara says, if that's the case, aviha ben, the father of the son, who is obligated to do the Brit Milah, if he were to do his own son's Brit Milah, my ikala mimar, what is there to say? Meaning, what bracha should he say? In that case, it would appear he should make the bracha with a lamed. To which the Gemara answers, in hachi nami, yes. The word in here means yes. It is so. Correct. Here the Gemara introduces the idea that the language of lamed and al is not only dependent on future or past tense, but rather it is dependent on who's doing the mitzvah. And here the Gemara distinguishes, if you're doing a mitzvah for yourself, like the father of the son, Aviyah ben, then he should do the bracha with a lamed. But if you're doing the mitzvah for someone else, it should be with an al. So that is answer number one for Rav Papi. Meitvei, a second question. Baruch asher kiddushana b'mitzvot v'tzivanu al hashchita. When it comes to the mitzvah of shchita, of slaughtering an animal, again, the bracha is recited right before doing the mitzvah. And again, we see the bracha is with an al, which tells us that al is future tense. So too, the Gemara answers here for the purpose of Rav Papi's opinion. Hatam, there too, nami, also. In hatam nami, there also, heichi nema, what should he say? Nema lishchot, should we say lishchot, to slaughter the animal? Lo sagid delaviu shachat. But what if he's not the shochet? Meaning, again, most normal situations, one hires a shochet to do the job. One is not obligated to do his own shchita. If one were to want a hamburger today, you would not be obligated to do your own shchita. And again, the Gemara seems to imply if you are not doing shchita for yourself, of which you're not obligated to, you can say the words al hashchita, which is in a general sense, the bracha is upon the mitzvah of shchita. Not that you yourself are obligated to do it. So the Gemara asks, we have examples where, ideally speaking, you should do your own shchita. Pesach v'kachim ma'ikala mimar. What about Korban Pesach and other korbanot of the Beit HaMikdash, kachim? What do we say in that situation? There it would seem that you should do your own shchita. To which the Gemara says, in achinami, indeed it is so. So too, in this case, if you're doing the korban in the Beit HaMikdash, in a situation where you yourself should do the shchita, then you should make the bracha lishchot. But if someone's doing a shchita, the slaughtering, in a non-mitzvah form, you're not obligated to do it, then the bracha would be more general with the language of al hashchita. So, again, the same answer, it's not necessarily dependent on past or future, but rather it's dependent on, are you doing the mitzvah le'atzmo, for yourself? Then you use the language of lamed. Are you doing the mitzvah le'achevrim, for someone else? And then you would do a more general sense bracha of al hashchita or al hamila. Third question, meitvei. And let's see again, is this question on Rav Papi or Rav Papa? Ha'oseh lulav liatzmo, he who makes a lulav for himself, mevarech shechiyanu v'kimanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh, makes the bracha of shechiyanu. Interesting to note here that even on making the lulav, which means putting the four species together, the lulav, the hadassim, the aravot, and the etrog, just merely putting them together in preparation for the mitzvah, creates such joy that you can make the bracha of shechiyanu. Now the next part of the Gemara is very essential. Not lo latzeit bo, once he takes the lulav, latzeit bo, to fulfill the mitzvah, Omer asher kiddushana b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat lulav. End of the Tosefta. Excuse me. Al netilat lulav. So here the Gemara again asks, not lo latzeit bo implies he takes the lulav to fulfill the mitzvah, but he has not yet fulfilled the mitzvah. And nevertheless, we have the language of al netilat lulav, implying the future. So again, a question on Rav Papi, how is it that the language of al is used in the future sense here? To which the Gemara answers for Rav Papi, Shani hatam, sham zeshoneh, there it is different. Hatam means there, shani means shoneh. There the case of lulav is different. De beidna de agba nafak bey. De beidna, that at the moment the agba that he picked up the lulav, nafak bey, he was yotze the mitzvah. He had already fulfilled the mitzvah, meaning that merely picking up the lulav is technically the mitzvah, and therefore, since he has already fulfilled the mitzvah by picking it up, indeed he has already in the past tense fulfilled the mitzvah. So the mitzvah is actually the bracha is actually very correct. It's al netilat lulav because in fact in this case you have in the past tense already fulfilled the mitzvah. However, the Gemara asks, Ihachi, if so, latzeit bo, to fulfill the mitzvah. The Tosefta said, not lo latzeit bo, he picked it up to fulfill the mitzvah, implying the future, that he has not yet fulfilled the mitzvah, but he will shortly, soon fulfill the mitzvah. Latzeit bo, yatzah bo mi ba'ilei. It should have said yatzah bo, that he picked up the lulav and fulfilled the mitzvah, and then made the bracha. The language is imprecise. Why does the language say not lo latzeit bo? It should say yatzah bo mi ba'ilei. To which the Gemara answers, in achinami, yes, indeed it is so. You are correct. However, there's a reason why the Tosefta said what it said. Umishum tekabayil meitnei seifa, and because the Tosefta wanted to learn in the seifa at the end of the Tosefta, leishev basukah, something regarding the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah. Tana reisha nami latzeit bo. It was also taught in the beginning of the Tosefta, the language of latzeit bo, to which we understand back in those days they learned Mishnayot and Braitot and Toseftot Baal Peh. So they tried to write them in a manner which they were easily memorized and used parallel language. So too here, as the Gemara will explain, the Katani Seifa, it was taught at the end of that very same Tosefta. How says Sukkah liatzmo, he who makes a sukkah for himself, Omer Baruch Atah Hashem, Shechiyanu v'kimanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. He who makes a sukkah, merely making the sukkah, again we see, generates a joy that one can make the bracha of Shechiyanu. Now here's the key part. Nichnas leishev ba, and once he enters into the sukkah, leishev ba, to sit in the sukkah, to fulfill the mitzvah of yeshiva basukah, Omer Baruch Asher Kedishanu b'mitzotav v'tzivanu leishev basukah. He should make the bracha leishev basukah. So since the Tosefta wanted to say a language nichnas leishev ba, he enters into the sukkah to sit in the sukkah regarding something in the future. So too in the Reisha it said natlo, he took it latzeit bo. He took the lulav to fulfill the mitzvah, even though technically he has fulfilled the mitzvah by merely picking it up. But the Tosefta wanted to keep a parallel language. Natlo latzeit bo, just like nichnas leishev ba. And one can look in Tosfot to see some interesting minhagim we do based on this idea in our Gemara regarding shaking the lulav. Lastly, we have finished the Gemara, which mentioned 3 questions on Rav Papi regarding the correct language of biur chametz. On betikat chametz, should one say al biur chametz or levaer chametz? To all 3 questions, Rav Papi had an answer. Nevertheless, the Gemara concludes v'hilchata, and the law is, the halacha is al biur chametz. Like Rav Papa said, which is what we do today, we make the bracha al biur chametz. We will conclude the Gemara at another time. Thank you.